I'm Emily Wood, and I'm a Detroit artist. I paint pictures of the things I see and the places I've lived, and I paint a lot of Hamtramck in Detroit. Mostly Hamtramck because the houses are really close together and it's just highly populated. There's a lot of people and a lot of activity and a lot of houses. I really like painting houses. When I was growing up, my mother took me to work a lot, and we always took the back way. She called it the scenic route, and we used to see a lot of really interesting things on those drives, and it has always stayed with me. A lot of times my work includes both the literal actual places that I've been around Hamtramck and Detroit, and it includes an element of, I hate to say it, but like fantasy or things that could not really be there, right? Like in my big city picture, there's an eagle on the building. A lot of times there's a goddess or a god that's rolling through Hamtramck or that's on the streets of Detroit. I was at the museum in Toronto, the art museum in Toronto, and I saw this painting, and it really struck me because the animals were not well drawn or well painted, but they looked really anthropomorphic. And so I looked at it, and I remember the name of the guy who painted it. It was Edward Hicks, and he painted the same painting, and it always had the same central figure of a lion and a lamb, and then sometimes a cow in different backgrounds. Yeah, he entered the clergy, and so could only paint religious scenes, and so he painted the same thing over and over and over, and I thought it was really, really interesting. So I patterned this painting after him and his work. No, the animals are different. The animals were just animals that I liked, that I wanted to paint. So I painted this when I was in my first apartment in Hamtramck, and it's called Kali Rolls into Hamtramck. And here's Kali, the Indian goddess of death and destruction, and she's rolling in on this cloud. She has her other deities with her, and she's rolling into Hamtramck. And these are the two houses that were outside my back door. And so when I painted this picture, I was able to sit in my kitchen and have all the natural light and just look out the back window and paint these two houses in the back. And because I was painting in the kitchen, we had this really ugly linoleum tile that was like pink and green, and so that's this tile here. And then these two houses were houses right in the back, and on the day that I had painted this, I had gone to one of the dollar stores in Hamtramck and bought some item or something, and the guy behind the counter started to talk to me about being from the Middle East, and he started telling me for no reason that there were camels in the Middle East, some that had 5 humps and some that had 9 humps, and that these camels had these different humps, so I put a camel with multiple humps. And then I had gotten slippers. That's what I was buying at the dollar store. I got these dollar store slippers, and I think I found a little zine, like a little comic book zine like they had. This was probably 2002. So those were popular then. And so I put all that in this house because I had seen that, and so I put it there. And then in the back here, so we were on Yeaman Street, and St. Florian was right in the back. It was like 3 or 4 streets over, and so I put the silhouette of St. Florian in the back. One Hamtramck landmark that occurs in multiple places in my work, not just paintings, but also in my rug and in a lot of ceramics, is the St. Florian Church. So several apartments that I had surrounded the St. Florian area. I had apartments on Poland Street and Yeaman Street. And when you live that close to a big Polish church, you hear the bells all the time. So St. Florian's has these really loud bells that start at like 7 a.m. and go until like 10 p.m. And so I used to sleep late, and so they always would wake me up. But I feel like it's something that everybody could enjoy in Hamtramck, and one of those things that just united all the people who lived in Hamtramck is hearing the bells from St. Florian, and then also hearing the call to prayer at the mosques, because there's a lot of mosques in Hamtramck, and they all have the call to prayer 5 times a day. And so you hear these two kind of competing dogmas in your ears all the time, and so that's really interesting. So when I painted that painting, I was happy with it, and then I stepped back and I thought, oh, this doesn't look super realistic. And I said, okay, what's missing? And I went out and I looked, and I realized it was garbage. There was no detritus in the streets or in the lawns or anything. And anybody who spent any time in Hamtramck or Detroit knows that that's one of the pleasures of living in those places, is that you find all kinds of weird things on the streets all the time. And to not put that in would be missing a fundamental element of the city. So once I put the crap in the street, I thought it looked a lot better. So I was a lot happier with it after that. Here's maybe like a little cigarette butt, and then these are like leaves and other pieces of garbage, little pieces of paper. It's maybe like a can, right? There's a lot of garbage and detritus. We used to play a game called Name That Garbage, where if you were driving down the street and you saw a pile of garbage, you had to yell out the items that were in the pile. This sounds like an easy game. It's really difficult. It's really hard to see a pile of garbage and say, bucket, shoe,
box.
Yeah. It's harder than it looks. I was using canvases for a while, and then I realized there's no reason to. I started just painting on garbage. So now if I'm driving down the street and there's a pile of garbage, I know that there's going to be a chest of drawers or a bookcase. If there's a bookcase, that's the best, because you can take each one of those shelves out and you paint on the back of each one of those shelves. That's the best. I break for bookcase garbage. And I have pictures too. I have a lot of pictures of things that I found in the street, and I continue to pick things up out of this street. This doll, the parts for this doll, I found in the street. This was like a baby doll, and I found it in the street, and I carried it around in my trunk, and then I took it home, and I took all the soft parts away until it was just 5 plastic pieces. I repainted the face of it to make it angry, and then I sewed a whole new body for it, and I attached the doll pieces. So I've always used things I found from the street. I feel like it's a way you can really get in touch with the city. So, and I was thinking about doing a project where, like in Hamtramck, I found a lot of chicken bones on the street. I was thinking about making some really fine chicken bones out of ceramic and putting them on stuff, or diaper bombs are a big Hamtramck thing. There's always diapers in the alley. I can't really do trees or plants, but I'm working on it. And that's one of the things I've always wanted to be able to learn to do, is to paint trees, and I can't do it. So if you look at my work, there's either a Rousseau type foliage like that, or else there's an Indian miniature type foliage that's highly stylized. It's really just a bunch of dots. And that's about it. I mean, you can see, like this, the tree looks terrible. Their bush on that looks awful. That was an experiment. That tree right there, that bush in front of the house, it's just like a green thing with like blobs. Yeah, it's like a problem. So plants and trees are always a problem, because the individual leaves are so small that you can't paint them in actuality, because you can't get a small enough brush. You just can't do it. But if you paint them like in a stylized way, maybe they'll look more real, but that's really just a trick. That guy with the afro, who is that guy? Who paints the happy little trees?
I forget.
He does that, and if you see him do it, he just like gets paint on his brush and just like taps it on. Like, yeah, great, maybe it looks like a tree, but it doesn't, I don't know, I just don't think it feels like a tree. So I'm still looking for a solution. I like the way the grass came out in this painting, but other than that, I have a lot of trouble. Trees are a big problem, but a lot of painting is just problem solving, because when you start out, you have an idea of what you want to paint, and you have an idea of the elements and the colors, and then actually getting it onto the canvas and getting the edges of the things to match up is difficult, and it's like spatial problem solving. So, and the lighting too. Lighting's always a problem. None of my paintings are well lit. The lighting is always, if you look at my work, the shadows are in multiple places. They're never where they're supposed to be, and usually they're just not there at all. So I've got to work on that too. So all of the things that I paint, whether it's on ceramic or whether it's in a rug or in a painting usually comes from an actual place. And so I've taken all these pictures over a lifetime of photography. Since I was very little, my mom taught me how to take pictures in the city. So I have all my pictures organized into these boxes with different headings, and I've taken all of these. And today I received a new shipment of photographs from the printers, and so what I'm doing here is I'm organizing them into stacks. Some of the stacks I have, each stack represents a category. And so like this category is empty signs. And so these are all photographs of empty signs of pictures that I've taken in Detroit and Hamtramck. Here I've got Hamtramck houses, an entire stack of photographs of houses in Hamtramck. And I have Hamtramck and Detroit sorted from each other. And then when I paint, everything that I paint, everything on any ceramic or painting, I know where that is. So that's why it's important, and that's why I like it, and that's why I'll never get tired of painting houses. This is one of my favorite categories. Hamtramck store windows. This is where all the real gems are. These are things, actual things that I've seen in Hamtramck while I was walking around. Dollar store, beauty supply store wig heads. Hamtramck dollar store signs. Look, parfum. The dollar store accepts EBT. Look at how interesting this is. Look, Hamtramck dollar. Does that say Hamtramck dollar too? Again, the EBT thing. Under new management, they sell milk. They've got 18-year-old birthday things, flowers and penguin things. Very interesting. These are things for sale on the front counter of the liquor store. You can get eggs, sausage, pickle, and then pickled eggs. They have 2 kinds of eggs. Look at these hands. This is very creepy. I liked it a lot. They sell hijabs at the dollar store alongside tricycles, Halloween pumpkins, plus Christmas tinsel. More hands. Look at this. This is for selling hats. There's no hats on it. The hats are on the ground, and it's just like a monster octopus of heads. And that's me taking the picture. Here is a thing that I guess you're supposed to put on your coffee table. A hijab lady again. An actual fur wolf holding a baby wolf. Octopus again. With plastic crap on a circle of wood. Here's this men's store that has all this really fancy men's gear. Who would have that in their house? Look at this, the modern men's shop. This is where my inspiration comes from. All ladies' clothes. Here's, why would you sell fur coats this way? That's the modern man for you. It looks like there's just a head inside of like a sunken body. This is a good one too. Who would buy something that looks like it sucks you into another dimension? This was at a liquor store, because I guess if you want to bring your kids to the liquor store. Here's the Pimp Man's store, the OG store. Look, it's not Barbie, but it is a benign girl. Look at the facial hair. Who puts facial hair on a mannequin? And these gold glasses, and there's that again. One of the greatest things about this particular store are the pictures in the back. They're selling nipples, apparently. No arms. Look, you can see they have an ad showing this guy like, what's up? Truckload pain sale. Very cool. I love, this is one of my favorite stores. That's it. So, and I have more too. You guys just caught me on this day when I was organizing my photographs. So, this isn't even all of them.